Hi, everyone, and welcome to our SEAC meeting this evening. It is just after 7 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder that this evening's meeting will be recorded and available for anyone who wishes to view it. So we are going to start with our land acknowledgement. Just give us a second. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to start with our prayer first. Okay, you think I would know what I'm doing by now. If you'll join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We come together in hope from different community groups, answering the same call to service, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in gratitude for the trust placed in us, for the opportunity to serve, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in respect, aware of our diversity, willing to work for the good, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in awe of the wonder and beauty of each of God's children, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in God's name, and as we work together toward the same goal, each piece of the puzzle begins to fit neatly into place, creating a breathtaking picture of love, compassion, courage, and grace. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Now the land acknowledgement.
As we know it today
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations and the Métis.
From the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis. These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today
on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect
the four directions:
lands, waters, plants, animals, and ancestors
that walked before us.
All these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God.
We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Great, thank you so much. So moving right along to item 1.2, the approval of the agenda. Everybody would have received a copy of the agenda in their meeting package. So I'm looking to see if I can get someone to move the approval of the agenda. Don't be shy, just shout it right out. Paul moved.
I can second.
Nancy second, thank you. Moving on to item number 2, declarations of conflict of interest. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest this evening? No? All good. Okay, moving on to item number 3, presentations. There are no presentations this evening. Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes from the January 31st, 2022 SEAC meeting. Again, everyone would have received a copy of the minutes in your meeting package. Did anybody have any questions, comments, additions, deletions on the minutes?
I have to step up. They had me, this is Paul, they had me attending the meeting, but I missed it, so.
Okay, we can make that note and have that fixed, Paul.
And then if you give me the approval for missing it at the end, that would help too.
Sure. Yeah, we can make those changes, no problem. Is there any other comments at all on the minutes? Okay, provided we're going to make those changes, which we will. Can I get someone to move the minutes as amended?
Diane.
Diane, thank you. Seconded.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, moving on to item number 5. We have business arising from previous meeting. Again, that chart would have been in the meeting package. I'm probably going too quick here, Andrea, sorry. Andrew's just bringing it up on the screen here. Does anybody have any questions at all on the business arising chart? No? Okay, perfect. All right, so moving on to item number 6, we have the Special Education Board Policy Review, and I invite Superintendent Ballo to speak to that.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you. So we do have the item on the agenda this evening. It has been reviewed, policy II-44. It's been reviewed by our staff, and there have been some changes that have been made to the policy. It was last reviewed in 2018 as part of our 3-year cycle that we review policies, and there were not very many changes at that time to the policy. So overall, there has been some changes in terms of adding our associated policy. Our equity and inclusion policy we felt was very important to include. If you go further through the document, we've made updates to our purpose. The application and scope has also been reviewed. Our references were reviewed by staff, and we've added several new ones, and we've also eliminated some that are no longer even functioning links. If you continue to go through the policy, we also added a definition section. So the prior policy did not have a definition, and the definition that we opted to include is the tiered model of intervention. It is a definition that is used frequently throughout the policy, and when we speak about mental health. We've also updated the principles to better reflect the process that's taking place in our system at this time, And really it speaks to what we're committed to, and that's what the introductory sentence is there, is that the HCDSB is committed to, and then it includes all of the principles that we are committed to as a department, as a board, when it comes to student mental health. And this policy, I would point out, is in reference to student mental health and programming. Also, when you continue to look at that, I've updated, and the team has updated, some of the terms were not updated in 2018, including the titles of the mental health leadership team. So those have been updated. Our mental health awareness week, our strategy, the names of those have also been updated to reflect the current titles. And then there are just some minor edits, I would say, as well, just for consistency and readability of the policy. And section A, B, and C, we've added board level responsibilities, and then the next part is school responsibilities. So you've all had the opportunity to take a look. We're certainly open to any questions or feedback that you may have. And I do want to acknowledge that we have our Acting Chief of Mental Health Programming, Michael Ciac, who's here this evening, as well as our Acting Chief of Social Work, Jane Atchison, and our Chief of Psychology, Oliver Foyce, who I think you're all very familiar with. The three of them make up our leadership team. There's Jane and Michael.
Hey guys, thank you for being here.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Did anybody have, thanks Oliver, hey, how are you? Did anybody have any questions at all as it pertains to this particular policy? You would have all had a chance to take a look at it. I know that student mental health and well-being is a huge priority for our board. It's obviously a huge priority for our SEAC committee. So please feel free, even if it's just a comment, if you wanted to speak, to your experiences or to, anything about student mental health and well-being at our board. And again, if you wanted to ask any questions at all as it pertains to the policy. You guys might get off easy tonight. No? Okay. All right. Going once, going twice. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for hanging around and jumping on, at least if nothing else. It was great to see your faces. And we're always so appreciative of all the work you do for our staff and students. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Brenda. Nice to see you.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, let me just grab my notes here. So moving on to item number 7, which is our action and information items. We have our budget priorities. So members were sent a form after our January 31st SEAC meeting to submit requested budget priorities. The feedback was included in our meeting package. Was there any other feedback? Does anybody have any questions, any comments? We have a chance now to discuss that. And we will be getting a budget presentation from our finance department for our April SEAC agenda. So, but now's a chance to review what we have. Again, take a look. Is there anything that you wanted to add that you didn't have a chance to add or didn't get a chance to get to the form? That's okay, we're all busy. I'm opening up the floor if anybody wants to discuss. I mean, these are the budget priorities that we're putting forward as a SEAC committee. Yes, Rick, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Brenda. So just a quick question, I guess more of a comment. I read that the province, I guess, increased the grants for student needs for Halton, and that like there's $1+ billion coming through for the Catholic and the public boards. Is that does anyone, like, I don't know if you guys would know, like, any of the trustees, if it's come through like 20-year plan, 10-year plan? Is it like the next 5 years? Do we have any idea of what? Because that's a big chunk of money, and I think we could probably, put that to good use if it's actually going to be realized over the next couple of years, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know if Superintendent Ballo wants to tackle that, or I know we have Director Daley, I believe, on the call. Superintendent Ballo?
I'm sure he's on the call as well, and Director Daley is always welcome to contribute. I would say that we've just received some high-level information, and we haven't seen, I haven't seen any of the details with regards to any of the funding that's coming. It does look promising, I would say, in terms of overall funding and being able to maintain some of the funding that was already allocated. And there's Pat. I don't want to misspeak on it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the question, Rick. Maybe I can answer in one way. So our GSN allocation, our per pupil amount is up this year. So that's the good news. Maybe the not so good news is it still leaves us as the least funded board in the province with regard to the GSN allocation per pupil amount. So it did go up. I can kind of dig through my numbers here. I think a couple of $100 per student. So that's the good news. But from a provincial perspective, we're still a little bit behind.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Daley. Rick, did that help answer your question?
Yeah, I think, I was just basically trying to figure out if it was like, already funded money, or I saw the amount at 400 million. I thought that's a lot of money. I didn't know if it was gonna be like a long-term thing, but it sounds like it's kind of just small bits and we're still behind the provincial average. So it's, I guess we would just keep moving forward and every little bit counts, right? Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
And maybe if I could just add a quick, maybe more positive note, although, that wasn't so positive. Some of the funding, it looks like that's going to come through again, and this is not necessarily our daily funding, but for certainly some tutoring supports, there was a substantial investment by the province in our board and other boards, and as well, it looks like the funding that we've received over the last number of years that's been able to help support some of our summer programming that our spec ed department has done a fantastic job with. It looks like we'll be able to continue on with that programming. I have no doubt we probably would have had to continue on with it anyway because it's been so successful and find a way to do it, but it looks like we'll have that support from the province going forward. So that's certainly good news. Great.
Thanks so much, Director Daley. And I agree. I was going to put that as a budget priority, but I didn't because I had a sense there'd be some funding there. But I think we all acknowledge how successful the summer programming has been. It's just been, I don't know. I've heard nothing but positive things about it. And I think it really has been impactful for the students who have participated. And I know for some of our students with special education needs, I mean, this is the first time they've been able to participate in something like this over the summer. So I think that the impact has been tremendous. So I'm happy to hear that will continue, hopefully. So that's great news. Did anybody else have any questions at all as it pertains to the budget priorities? Now, just want to ask, just in case someone doesn't want to be put on the spot, didn't have a chance to fill it out, Superintendent Ballo, are we able to accept some, maybe sort of till the end of the week, perhaps a couple of other suggestions should they come in, if people's, minds have been triggered on this, perhaps they'd be able to submit. Would that be possible?
Yeah, they can continue to submit. Some of the suggestions that are submitted there may not necessarily be, a budget case that we have to put forward, but it is really good consideration for us as we're doing our planning for next year to review some of the feedback, all of the feedback, to see what is front of mind of our SEAC members. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. So I don't see any other hands up with respect to the budget priorities. So again, as you heard, if you would like to continue to submit, please do that. And then we will be having a more detailed budget presentation from our finance department in April, and that'll be on our agenda for that SEAC meeting. Okay, so moving along, item 7.2. The special education plan review discussion. We have this conversation every year. That's okay. It's a good conversation. We always try to take a look at what we've done, what's worked well, perhaps what hasn't worked as well, some new ideas, how we want to tackle it. So, looking to the committee, this year, how do we want to review the plan this year? Do we want to do the same as last year? And then just a reminder that last year we did create a special education plan subcommittee with Ciac members and our staff. We can send the feedback form again for all of the members to submit feedback on the areas of the plan that they would like the subcommittee to review. That way, everybody has a chance to submit their feedback, but we're not necessarily taking up an entire meeting or so to go through all of that information. And we can certainly, if that's the will of the group, I think it actually worked really well last year. I was really pleased with the way that it worked. So if people are okay with doing that again, we can send out an email asking for members to volunteer for that subcommittee. So I would welcome everyone's thoughts on that, because it is something that we do as a group. We as a group need to do. So interested in your thoughts. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to wait.
Oh, sorry, we lost you there.
Gave us some focus and something to talk about. Sorry?
Sorry, we just lost you there for a second. Do you mind starting again?
No problem. I said I really liked the way it worked last year with the subcommittee coming back with some recommendations and things to discuss. So I recommend if we could try that again, that would work for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I really enjoyed the process last year. I thought that it gave everybody, like I said, a great opportunity to provide their feedback. But for those people who wanted to be a little more hands-on, who really like to dive into it, it gave them a chance to be on that subcommittee. So, pending any other feedback, recommendations, or comments, I would suggest that we move ahead as we did previously, and we can send an email out to see who's interested in that committee. Maybe just some thumbs up, some yeses, something would be great. I'm gonna start bringing my joke book to these meetings so I can do a little thank you, Tracy. That's awesome. I saw some thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thumbs up, Paul. Thanks, Rick. Okay, great. So it sounds like that's a good way for us to move ahead and do that. Okay. Moving on to item 7.3, elementary community living class update. Superintendent Ballo, over to you again.
Thank you, Chair Agnew. So you would recall that the community living class staff report had been presented in October at a board meeting, and then it was on our November 29th SEAC meeting agenda, and we had included the report that I had worked on, the staff report for the SEAC package. As a reminder, I just want to speak to the CLC and the class makeup. It is for students from kindergarten to grade 8 with complex needs who are identified as exceptional, typically multiple and/or intellectual developmental disability, and is for students who need medical and personal care, including nursing in some cases. The maximum capacity of the class is 6 students, and we currently have 1 class across the system that's located at St. Teresa in Oakville. Since that time, we have considered what our needs are in the system. And as a team, given the multiple classes that we offer for all of our other placement options, all of which have more than 1 class at 1 site, we really felt it was important to loop back, to come back to SEAC, to provide an update, and to put it back on the table. With that said, we as a team do plan to gather some more information, because when we talked about it in the fall, we didn't have any information as to the interest because we haven't asked parents if they are interested. And again, there's a maximum of 6 students in the class, and we have at least 6 parents or students who would be appropriate candidates for the class placement. So we do plan to gather some information regarding interest, and we will be reaching out to our parents to communicate with them to see what their interest is in the option, whether it's in the fall or whether it's long term. Again, with the range of JK to grade 8, it might not be something that a parent is looking at in the short term, but it might be something that they consider in the long term. And I think all of that information will be really helpful to us. In terms of planning and next steps, we really feel that if we don't ask the question, we'll never know. and if we need another class. And again, given that we do have multiple classes of all of our placement options except for the CLC, we really feel that it's something that's important to explore further. It is also really timely right now because staff are reviewing enrollment in all of our existing programs, and they will be in consultation with schools and parents, as we do every year, around placement options for September and any considerations that families are making. In the report, the recommendations were to either add a second class at the existing site, which is St. Teresa in Oakville, or to add a new school site in Milton. In reviewing the options, St. Teresa has appropriate space, and the Burlington, Milton, and Georgetown sites would all need construction, and Milton and Georgetown don't have any space currently and would require portables, just as a summary, high-level summary of the information that was shared at that time. If we do have parents who are interested in Oakville, I do believe that we would be able to add a second class at St. Teresa for September. The primary costs would be furniture and equipment and a teacher, and we would be able to cover that internally through the reallocation of our approved existing budget. Superintendent Merrick, who's our facilities superintendent, and Lofts, obviously, is our finance. I've also consulted with them and our senior team, and they do see it as feasible for St. Teresa if there's interest. And again, I'm not sure if we're going to have that interest, but if we don't ask the question, we'll never know if there is that interest there, because we're not engaging with families about the placement option if there isn't a possibility for them to attend the class. So really, that's why I'm here this evening with this update, because I do want to let Ciac know what our intentions are in terms of collecting some data. If nothing comes of it for September, then at least we'll have the information for any future planning. And yeah, so that's why I thought I would add it to the agenda, just to sort of bring it back. And it is very timely. It's February. I think if we're communicating with parents, it'll be in the next week or so. And I'm open to any questions.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm wondering, while we're waiting to see if there's any questions, could I put you and Jody on the spot and see if you could play that video?
Oh, Jody can.
Jody can.
Play any video.
There was a video that was shared. We had a trustee session. Anyways, there was a video that was shared, and it was filmed at the CLC class in Oakville, and honestly, I just like tears. But it's an amazing video, and it was filmed for International Day of Persons with Disabilities, if I'm correct.
That's
and yes, sorry, Trustee Gozo, did you have a comment?
She just said Mr. Presents. It was the
okay. Thank you. Yes, perfect.
Yes, who created the video for International Day.
I think our committee would love to see it.
Okay.
Sorry,
I agree. I'd love to see it again too.
Okay. Sorry, Jody.
No pressure.
I was gonna say no pressure. Just give me just a minute. I just have to find it.
Sorry. No problem. Oh, in the meantime, yeah, Jessica, did you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to share that I think it's great that you're reaching out to the parent community to see what the real needs and interests are, because sometimes parents don't even know that these placement options would be great for them based on limited availability. I think that's the great next step. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
I should have thought about this before, but as you're talking, I just, such a good video.
That's okay. We should have thought of it as well. Are there any other questions while we wait for Jody to get the video running?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions at all about that specific class or anything like that? No. Okay.
I think I have it here.
All right. Thanks, Jody.
No problem. Oh, geez. You know what? I'm going to have to stop. Hang on 1 second. It's not pulling up.
Do you want us to turn our cameras off? Will that help you?
I'm going to do it this way.
I probably could have. Is it on our website? I probably could have found it. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, get ready. Good. This is awesome. Get your tissues.
I just have to make sure I've shared sound. Hang on. I seem to be having the same issue that Andrew is having with sound. It's not, it keeps flipping off on me. I am including it. I'm not sure why not. I can try one more time.
Do you want to send me do you want to put the link in the chat, Jody? And maybe if you have it, and then maybe someone else can try to share it?
Okay.
I don't know if that'll work. I'm just throwing it out there. And if not, we can always play it without the sound, Jody. It's still a beautiful video.
I'm having a hard time even locating the actual YouTube address for it. So I'm going to try one more time with my sound.
Okay.
Yes, give me one more second. Let me just try again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jody. I'm so sorry I put you guys on the spot. And I know that the sound wasn't working, but I think it just gives a really good glimpse into some of the students in our CLC class, some of the amazing engagement and interaction that happens with our staff and with other students in the school. And I think just a reminder that there are some of these students who may not be able to actually participate in our school system and in the education system without this class. So we'll try to perhaps get the link and send it out to everybody, because I know that you'll want to watch it again. And thank you again so much for sharing that. Okay, let me just, sorry, give me a second here. Okay. Moving on to item number 8 on our agenda is our board committee updates from any SEAC members who sit on, or representatives that sit on those committees. So if everybody could provide a brief update if you have one. So up first is the Mental Health and Wellbeing Advisory Steering Committee. And Diane, I know we have a meeting coming up the end of March. I don't think we've had one since our last, correct? Sorry, Diane, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened. I believe the next one is on March 23rd, but we certainly haven't heard anything since the last one, no.
Okay. It's this Wednesday, Superintendent Ballo?
It is. There was an invite that went out. I'm just checking. You're included on it, so that's
yes.
our side.
Okay.
But
I had the end of March. I don't know why.
I've got March 2nd.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So there'll be an update for the March updates.
Awesome, thank you. De-streaming committee. Sorry, go ahead, Diane.
It's
sorry.
Not March 23rd, it's March 2nd. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, Brenda.
Okay. So the next one is the de-streaming committee. Maria is not here this evening. I don't know if anybody else has an update or if there's been any meetings since then. I'm really not sure. Do we know if there's been any?
Hi, Brenda. There wasn't another meeting since the last SEAC.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, and then we've got the Equity Audit Committee, and Trustee Guzzo can correct me, but I don't believe we've had a meeting for that either.
No, we're in the process of acquiring. We have a company that we were just waiting for final approval, but Dan was away last week, so I was trying to see where we were at with that. So I apologize, I don't have that for today, Brenda, but
that's okay.
The audit should be happening.
Yeah, perfect, no problem at all. Then we have the Equity and Inclusion Committee, so I can speak to that. We did have a meeting on February the 10th, I believe. Let me just find my notes. Yes, we had a meeting February the 10th, and as always, we had a great opportunity to share any updates from all of our different members. So there was a great conversation about all of the things that are going on in our system with respect to equity and inclusive education. We were able to get some human rights and equity updates from CETA, and we like to have, during our meetings, we'd like to have some opportunities for engagement and meeting together to talk about different things and exchange some ideas and things like that. And so we did have a priority action plan, small group discussion about priority action plan to denounce and dismantle anti-Black racism and center Black excellence. And we also discussed the April Equity and Inclusive Education PA Day, what was going on for that planning, and the next steps for that piece. And our next meeting is going to be on May the 19th. Does anybody have any questions at all for me on that committee? No? Okay. And the STEAM committee, Nancy, has there been any meetings since the last one?
There was one last week, Brenda, and I had got called off, so I wasn't able to attend the full meeting. Trustee Dort sits on that as well, so I can't even ask him to give an update, so I apologize.
Okay. No worries. Perhaps what I'll do is I'll just put an email out to the members of the de-streaming and the STEAM committee to maybe just share an update via email. Yeah, Jody, go ahead.
If you're okay, Nancy and Brenda, I can just share. I was part of that meeting as well, so.
Totally okay.
Okay, so the STEAM committee did share with us some information of what they sort of had been doing to date, and the work they had been working on leading up to sort of Christmas, and then after that time they've been into schools and starting working with some classes on different various projects that they have. I can speak to one in particular as it relates to our life skills class, actually. So they've, through our SEAC funding, we had purchased some virtual reality headsets, and our STEAM committee is working with the life skills classes in using those virtual reality headsets to actually do some practicing of, co-op placements, which is really neat. So it's an opportunity to practice those skills prior to going out into their co-op placements. So that's kind of up and coming. I know it's literally this week or next week that they're starting to do that. So that's kind of neat and a neat way to use our SEAC. And they shared all sorts of really great stuff that's, a lot of in-depth stuff. But then we broke out into some groups and talked about strategies for targeting some programming, creating experiential learning opportunities, which I know was part of the SEAC feedback as well. And I know, it's great to have our ICERTs there and myself there to kind of talk about that as well. Strengthening community partnerships and support for programs, and increasing opportunities for STEAM and equity PD. So lots of great work being done in that committee.
Thanks so much, Jody. And I know that Dan was really excited when we had talked about the VR piece a little while ago, when it was just sort of in the conception idea. I know that he was really excited. So there you go, Dan. It's happening and it's going to be in place. And I look forward to updates on that, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
It's absolutely great. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jody. Okay. Sorry, let me just grab. Okay, communications to SEAC. You would have seen some letters that have been shared and circulated from some other SEAC committees. They have, like I said, if they weren't in the package specifically, then they have been circulated at another time in an email. So those will be there for you to review if you have any questions or comments. And as always, if anybody feels that they would like to send a letter on behalf of our committee with respect to feedback on a ministry directive or an initiative or something that's happening from a funding perspective or budget perspective at the ministry level, that is absolutely something, if you want to put on the agenda for discussion, that we would welcome. So just a reminder on that. And Superintendent Daley, you are back up with the superintendent's report.
Thanks.
Oh,
Brenda.
sorry, Paul, you have your hand up? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Stephanie.
Problem.
Yeah, just of interest to me was the letter that we got from the nurse talking about them downloading the medical fragile support from Aaron Oaks to Halton. What's that? I just wondering if I don't know if everybody got it, but it sounds like that they want to get rid of using the Aaron Oaks professionals and download it to the school, to the classrooms and teachers' assistants. And I'm just wondering, was the report from the nurse very factual, or is, because it sounds quite a bit of a concern if that's the way they want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat on some of the committees for some of my other work through Easter Seals and reviewed the information that's being shared by the ministry as far as that planning, but I don't feel qualified. I mean, I can speak to it as a parent, but I wouldn't feel qualified to speak to it sort of at a board level. But I know there is a lot of concern with respect to looking at those duties and those allocations. You know, when you look at things like feeding or, you know, I'm just picking some of those items that currently we have nursing take care of for some of our students, and there has been some suggestion in this memorandum that came out to pass that through to our educational assistants as an example, and there's a lot of concern for obvious reasons. So that is certainly something that in the special needs community, for people who have children with medical complexities or who do require nursing, they're very, very concerned about having the community nursing duties, you know, or tasks moved on to school staff. Again, I'm just speaking about that sort of off the cuff because I've been involved in those conversations from an advisory capacity, but I don't know. Dan, I see you have your hand up. I don't know if you wanted to add to that or if you had a comment about something else. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if there is a plan, just because of the concern, if there is a plan to have a information session with the parents interested to clarify some of the details and I guess what are the steps and how this is supposed to happen, so alleviate some of the concerns that are real, I guess, for everybody.
Yeah, so I know that they've been having those consultations already, but Superintendent Ballo, do you want to jump in?
Sure, I can speak to PPM 81. And as you said, Brenda, there have been some consultation sessions, ministry sessions. I had the opportunity to participate and engage, provide some feedback. I've met with our leadership team. We've reviewed the draft, so it is still a draft. The anticipated time of rolling it out would be in the fall. I can say that the feedback that I've heard consistently across all school boards has been definitely a concern around being able to implement for September for a number of different reasons. And to Dan's point, something that we've talked about internally would be that communication plan. And we've shared that concern as well, or that observation with the ministry to say, we can't go from our current model to a new model without, you know, a timeline. There has to be a lot of answers to questions that people will have. And I don't know that they're in a position at this point yet. We met earlier in the year. I know Denise has been also invited to be at a table to have her feedback heard. And we haven't heard anything recently. So it definitely, the flavor of the meeting was collecting feedback and information from all of the school boards. Many school boards had very similar concerns. And when we take a look at the concerns at large, obviously the role of staff, training, collective agreements. We currently already have third-party protocols in place in our schools, and we have a policy around that. So how is that going to impact any of our associated policies as well when it comes to medical conditions? We have a policy on medical conditions in our board. It was recently reviewed. So it's going to have greater impact across the school board, and that's definitely the feedback that the ministry is hearing as well. So I, never say never, but September is going to be here before you know it. And there still are a number of pieces, and we haven't received any updates yet. Working with community partners is something that we already do in many cases. It would just impact really the school because they're talking about multiple service providers in one school. So aside from space, which is already at a premium with our own staff, finding a place for an SLP or a CDA or somebody to go and work with our students, but bringing in external providers would be another consideration around space and scheduling and responsibilities, and who's ultimately going to be responsible at the school level for managing all of the different service providers. So what I can say is that once things are firmed up, we definitely will have to have a communication plan to communicate with our families. Our schools are going to need to be prepared to present the information and to work through a new process if that's what the process is going to be. And we've only seen the draft. There's been nothing further.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. And I agree. That's the only thing I've seen as well as a draft. I will say that from a positive perspective, the ministry has really tried to engage as many community partners as possible. So they've asked a lot of not-for-profits. They've asked just a lot of outside agencies, anyone that was sort of be touched by this in some capacity, they have really embraced and engaged with them to get their feedback. I would be happy, I believe we shared it previously, but I would be happy to share that information, that draft with.
I did share.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you don't mind, Stephanie.
No, I did. I sent it
I
after.
thought so. I think you already sent. Yeah, you already sent it.
Yeah, because it was the day that I got it, and I got.
And we invited feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I sent the form out, but it's not an imminent timeline at this point. So you do have the draft, and we did send the form. We didn't get any feedback, but I think even in the last few weeks, it's generated more interest. So if anyone from Ciac does want to take a look and still submit a form, we'd be really happy to have your feedback as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And if anybody can't find it, like I said, I was positive we'd sent it out and we did ask for feedback. For anyone that hasn't found it or can't find it, just let us know. We can send it out again. Jessica, I saw your hand up. Did I miss that? Was I seeing things?
Sorry, you already answered my question as I put my hand up. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So Stephanie, yours again for the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. So we've had another busy month around here. It was a short February, but we managed to get a lot of professional development in for sure. We had a CLC meeting with our new certs in early February, February 10th, and we addressed a number of topics for their learning regarding supporting students that have experienced trauma, independence rubrics, and community classrooms. We had an A4 CLC that took place, and it covered the topics related to Developmental Services Ontario eligibility, mental health, ELITE, and Relias module, and the specific module was shaping and training. We also had a family of schools elementary meeting, and the agenda included a presentation, and this is interesting, on French and special education in collaboration with curriculum and our spec ed department. Jody has been working really closely with the consultant in the French department. And this was one of a three-part series between both departments to increase understanding and strategies to support exceptional students in French immersion programs in our board. So part 2 and 3 are to follow, but it was an excellent introduction. Text Help provided training on using Orbit Note. It's a new PDF reader linked to Read and Write. And Equatio, a tool to support virtual math. It provides a way to create mathematical equations and formulas online. There was also a pathways presentation to look at the different pathway options for both locally developed and life skills students, and the presentation provided certs with a greater understanding of the different requirements for both programs to help support conversations with parents for students transitioning from grade 8 to 9. Our special education department head meeting was held in February. The topics were disabilities, Service Ontario eligibility funding, and an update around Project Search. All of our secondary school certs across the entire school board were provided a full day of in-service, and the agenda topics included social work support at the secondary level, from the referral process to their role in supporting students and families in our secondary schools, pathways presentation from our pathways consultants, looking specifically at the OYAP program and the skilled trades as a pathway destination. There was a presentation, it was excellent, on de-streamed math. It was presented in collaboration with curriculum and special education, and it focused on all exceptionalities in the de-streamed math program. Finally, a presentation on psychoeducational assessments, reviews, and considerations, and the use of memory aids was presented by Oliver. Lumino training, all of our certs were invited to attend a training session on Lumio. I asked what that is. It's for your smart board, your smart apparatus, a digital learning tool to support educators in the classroom to engage students in online delivery of curriculum content. We had a CLC for essential skills classes, and the following topics were covered: Relias module, teaching receptive language skills and questions and answers, diagnostic tools in math, the review of IPRC reasons, and modified learning expectations and IEP writing. And then lastly, a presentation ran regarding supporting transition to secondary school for students with FASD and FASD and trauma. And each virtual presentation had approximately 40 staff registered. So it was excellent to be able to offer that professional learning. And we opened it up to all staff across the system, and we've had quite a bit of interest. And then with regards to mental health and well-being, our acting Chief of Mental Health Programming, Michael, and Jane, our Chief Social Worker, presented at our secondary administrators meeting last week, and they spoke to student mental health programming, upcoming Safe Talk training, and student engagement and leadership information that we're collecting about all of our secondary schools. And those are all of my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks so much. Dan, you have your hand up?
So I was hoping to maybe hear something about the related to mental health and well-being. With the current war in Ukraine, kids are seeing disturbing images on TV, and they basically see that the world is not how they were taught at school. So how is the board planning to address that and basically not, enforce the message that is the right message that they are our kids are taught, and also address some of the questions that the students might have to make sure that they're having the right understanding of the events.
That's a good question, Dan. I would say that our teachers every day, there are staff in the school. You had started with mental health. There's definitely staff, CYCs, our child and youth counselors, and our social workers who can support. But definitely when we look at the intervention, it would be the teacher who would be the primary person who would be involved in having those discussions and very educated discussions with their class. I think that it's obviously very tragic, and when things happen, our school staff are very well positioned to know the students in their class, and that's why we always look to the teacher as being the first person to be able to have those critical conversations. They have the connections with parents, families. If something presents itself in a student specifically, they would reach out to the parent, have that conversation. But it definitely falls to the educator in the class with the support for mental health. Obviously, if there are any concerns in the class or any interventions that happen in our classrooms every day, then they would pull on additional supports. And the administration is also very helpful in guiding a lot of those difficult discussions that happen at the school.
So there is no official, approach from the board. Is up to the teachers to, to have any intervention if it's needed, right?
Well, I'm not aware of an official board position that's been communicated. I think that teachers would speak to, global topics like peace, compassion, working from that perspective.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan. Did anyone have any other questions on the superintendent report? No? Okay, thank you so much. So next up, we have Trustee Guzzo with the trustee report.
Thanks, Brenda. So at our February 1st meeting, a majority of the motions that were passed were policy revisions. It also included the terms of reference. The bylaw committee review has started with all trustees on the committee. So we've had our first meeting, and the terms of reference has been adopted. We have another meeting coming up. Moving to our February 15th meeting, we received Director Daley's annual report. It is available on the website if anybody would like to review it. There were several motions that were passed, one of them being the school year calendar. That as well is available on our website. We we had to reappoint a representative to the Ontario Catholic School Trustee Association, the Board of Directors. We're pleased to say that Trustee Janet O'Hearn Chernota has been appointed to represent Halton on the board at Oxta. There were several policies that were discussed and revised, one of them being progressive discipline and safety in schools. There was a large committee that was formed that involved students, trustees, staff, that all partook in that. And there has been quite a few revisions to that policy. Again, all these policies are available on the school or the board website. There was also a discussion in regards to school fundraising again at the table, which seems to be a bit controversial at times. However, it passed without any changes. We also had we have several other motions that we did not get to as the meeting ended. Before we could get to the rest of the motions. However, they will be dealt with at tomorrow evening's meeting. Other than that, the last thing is that the student census went out today. So for those of you who haven't checked your emails, please have a look. Students that are, I believe, up to grade 7, and I'm going to get this wrong, they are to be done. They go to the parents. However, our high school students will receive and will be doing the census at school. They will be given some time to complete the census, which will really be helpful for the board moving forward in collecting data that we don't currently have on a multitude of different things. Other than that, if I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much. I just wanted to add one thing, that we actually had a trustee PD session that happened last week. It was specific to the special education program, and both Jody and Stephanie delivered a fantastic PD session to our trustees. That's okay, Trustee Guzzo. They delivered, like I said, a fantastic PD session for the trustees. Not everybody has the time and ability to attend our SEAC meetings on a regular basis. And so it was great. And as I said, I learned something new every single time a presentation like this is done. I think it gave the trustees a fantastic opportunity to ask some questions, learn a little bit more, always with the goal of trying to understand as much as we can when we're making decisions at the table. So another shout out and thank you to Stephanie. We did get to see that beautiful video. To Stephanie and Jody, again, thank you so much for that. And it's, again, just a great chance to see everything that's going on, and it's amazing what is actually going on. And then just giving some detail into, oh, good, Jody found the link. Okay, perfect. I will share with Andrew to share out. Okay, thanks so much, Jody. And also Director Daley has given a shameless plug for his annual director's report, and you will find the link in our chat. We can also send that out as well so that you'll have that forever in your emails to access. So again, was there any questions at all for Trustee Guzzo on the trustee report? No, okay. Okay, so moving on to SEAC discussion. I've got a couple of things here to discuss, but does anybody have anything specific that they would like to bring forward for discussion? Okay, just a couple of notes then. The Spirit of Inclusion Committee met. We met last week, and we have selected the recipients for the Spirit of Inclusion Award. Always a fantastic opportunity for us to review the submissions that are sent in from the schools on extraordinary individuals, just they're an absolute pleasure to read, and the discussions are always great. It's always so hard to pick the winners, but the nice thing is that as we know, each of the nominees is celebrated in their school for being nominated for the Spirit of Inclusion Award. We will be having those awards given out at the next SEAC meeting. So that was great. So thank you to everybody who participated on that committee. I miss doing it in person, but hopefully next year. We have our program speaker lined up. So as you know, last meeting, I showed you the book and spoke to you a little bit about Dana Giel. She had written See Me for Me. We are going to be having that program speaker event on April the 13th. It will be sponsored by Ciac, and it will be in the evening. It'll be live streamed. So we'll be sharing more details with an invite to follow. And I would encourage all of our members here to participate and to share that with your communities far and wide. Dan's Ciac soundbite from Halton Down Syndrome Association will be on the website March 1st, and Rhonda will be doing the April soundbite. 11, meeting summary and next steps. We've got a couple of things that we need to be sending out, but I don't think other than that, there was a whole lot that we need to follow up on. But we'll make sure that we commit to some of the items that we said we would send to our group. Our next agenda is our next meeting is March the 28th. This agenda will include the Spirit of Inclusion Awards, as I just spoke to. Psychological assessment wait time update will be in the superintendent report, and the summary of student exceptionalities, the ONSIS. If that is ready, we'll be sharing that as well at that meeting. Okay, moving on to item number 13, resolution for absentees. So be it resolved that Marvin Duart be excused, and we also received regrets from Maria Lorenko. Do I have a mover for the absentee resolution?
Rick will move it.
Thanks so much, Rick. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thanks, Paul, for seconding. Okay. So barring any other, I don't see any other hands up or any other comments, we're going to move to our adjournment and our closing prayer. So if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Diane.
Moved by Diane, seconded.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick. If you'll join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Blessed are you, O God of all creation. Each day you spread before us the rich and wonderful diversity of the human family created in the divine splendor of your love. Fashioned in your image, you call us to love one another with the same tender care with which you brought us to creation. Each one of us is but one small part of the glory that is you. As we serve the students and families of the Halton Catholic District School Board on the Special Education Advisory Committee, fill us with your grace, guide us with your wisdom, and give us the strength and courage to do your work, so that it may always be said of our every act, God saw that it was good. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Thank you, everyone, for a fantastic meeting. I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great night.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everyone.